Welcome to Tilly's Trans Tuesdays. This week's topic is important. It's vital to trans people being seen and treated equally by society, and it's as important for trans people to understand as it is cis people. Time to root out the darkness within as we combat internalized transphobia. Hi, I'm Tilly Bridges, your host, and I'm joined by my writing partner, my best friend, my wife, our token cis representation, the bright leafy greens on the tree of my life, Susan Bridges. I was looking out the window when I was trying to think of it. We had that tree out there.
I think you're the bright leafy greens.
But it's
I'm
the tree
the
of my
angry
life.
bark.
Okay.
I'm just the angry bark.
You have a lot of opinions on how I
tree of
introduce
life.
you. Okay. All right.
It makes sense because you're too positive.
Okay.
I'm too negative, and that's why this works.
Sure. Our guest this week is Mae Dean. She began drawing real-life comics in late 1999 at the age of 18 after she realized that the in-jokes between her and her friends could make for an interesting daily comic. She termed it semi-autobiographical because as frequently as the comic was mundane and based on everyday happenings, it would also delve into the wildly fictional with space travel, alternate universes, and homicidal desktop computers.
Yay, I love a homicidal computer.
The strip recently celebrated its 23rd anniversary, and though it takes frequent hiatuses, will likely remain going for decades yet to come. In 2018, at the age of 37, Mae finally realized that the feelings she had been dealing with for most of her life were, in fact, gender dysphoria. Oh, hey, isn't that neat? Yeah, there's a name for that stuff. She chronicled this realization in the comic in a 3-week storyline entitled Epiphany, where her character, then presenting male, had a conversation with her inner self. Since then, she has depicted the reality of coming out to her partner, transitioning, and navigating the world as a trans woman, all with a focus on the humor and joy that so often gets overlooked in the trans experience. She has recently taken up the vocation of writer of short autobiographies in a third-person perspective, a career which, while fulfilling, she expects to be moving on from by the end of this sentence. Welcome, Mae.
Thank you so much.
You know what? It's interesting that you, through your comic, you came out in a very public way. You were well known before you transitioned and came out publicly. And you're the only other person I've met that I share that with, because with our podcasting company, which started back in 2004, for a very long time, all of the audience knew me pre-transition.
Yeah.
And my old name and my old voice is in all of that. And there's nothing I can do. I can't go back and change all
They're
that.
all up there.
There's way too many. I could never do it. So what has that been like for you? Has it been weird having to be so public about it?
No, actually for me, I thought that was part of I won't say it was a benefit, but it was definitely part of it was the reason that I decided that I needed to do it in the comic in the first place. My thought was, once I realized what I was going through and realized how hard it was for me to recognize that within myself, I'm like, okay, I need my transition in there. And they're like, no, there's no way I can do a comic about me and my friends without, including what I'm going through. I've come to terms with, I have a piece with my old self. In the comic, you can kind of see that my internal self sort of not forgives him, but thanks him for getting her where she is. And that's kind of the feeling I have about my old. I mean, I don't shy away from the name Greg because it doesn't really bother me because that's not me anymore. Yeah. But he was a big part of who I used to be. So I'm not going to go change the comic. People dance around my dead name sometimes, and I'm like, it's okay. It's not a problem. I like to just be out and not tiptoe around everything. It's okay. Not everyone has the same relationship to who they had been before transition.
Right. Yeah. I did something similar a little while back in one of our audio drama podcasts. I wrote a little conversation between me and my previous self, sort of discussing why did it take you so long to let me out, but you did give me things that I wouldn't have been able to have otherwise, and so it's a very complicated thing sometimes. But I'm not mad at that guy anymore. I was for a while. But yeah, I don't know. It's a really complex thing.
My previous incarnation, he had a hard time recognizing what was going on.
Yeah, same.
For especially those of us born in the 80s, it can be a little difficult to separate, what you're feeling from what you're told it means.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because and I know the topic of this episode will get into that, but things were different then.
Yeah.
And I'm not as mad at myself because I didn't have the tools necessary to understand what I was going through.
Right.
Simple as that. I think I had a little bit of a leg up because I've always referred to my character in the comic as a different entity. So when I'm talking to my wife about, what I'm writing, I'm like, oh, and Greg did this. And it was not me. It was my comic character. So I think I had a separation already, and that kind of helped me not get so upset about seeing my dead name and stuff like that in being referred to.
Yeah.
And I have a different relationship with that than a lot of trans people do, and I have to sometimes step in and say, hey, don't be a white knight for me. I'm okay. Don't defend me when someone uses the dead name in that context. It's okay.
So for you, what has been the best thing about transitioning?
That's a really hard one, but I think being able to just express who I am without having to moderate myself is pretty great.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard to fully explain because I didn't know I was consciously moderating myself beforehand.
Yep.
But you look back at yourself and, I made these decisions like, oh, well, I don't want to have that. It's too girly. Or, I don't like this because whatever. And now I'm flowers, everything, I like to quote from Modern Family. It's like, oh no, I don't love pink. Pink loves me.
Same. Yes.
I've allowed myself to just like what I like and not have to worry about what it means or how it looks. And that's really, really cool. That's really cool.
It's really freeing. I think that maybe a lot of people don't know, but it takes up so much of your every waking thought and moment and being like, can I do this? Can I not do that?
Is mental energy.
Yeah.
How's it going to appear? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I know it's termed masking or things like I was never up to date on the terminology. I just knew that I had to be who I was supposed to be and not who I was.
Right. And playing that part and wearing that costume is really hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's awful. Yeah. So on the flip side of that, then what has been one of the worst parts about transitioning for you? Something that you didn't expect to be as rough as it is?
I mean, I think the same answer for everyone else right now is that I have come out and started transitioning in what is possibly I won't say it's the worst time for trans people because, I mean, let's be honest, we've had a rough for a long time.
We've had a rough go of it,
a long time.
Yeah.
But right now, it's really hard to just be online and see every day just new laws being passed and people attacking us for a complete lack of understanding. It's all based on a complete, almost willful lack of understanding.
Oh, yeah. There's willful ignorance involved, definitely.
And it's incredibly frustrating to just, I know I'm okay. I mean, I'm in California. I know I am personally okay. So I have to remind myself, you're going to be okay. Your family's going to be okay. But that doesn't mean that I look at what's going on in other states and my heart doesn't break for those people because I'm a human being with compassion and it drives me. It's really, really hard.
It is.
To go from being a perceived straight white male.
Yep.
With no persecution to being the target, and that's rough. It wasn't unexpected. It's just rough.
Yeah, it wasn't unexpected, but it is rougher than I even imagined it would be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you can sort of, understand that trans people are super oppressed and they're being attacked in all these ways, but it's different once you actually have to experience it, and it can be really tough. So.
And on the flip side, I personally haven't had that. Where I live,
right.
Oddly enough, I'm in California, but I'm in kind of, a little, I won't call it a semi-conservative suburb of Central California. But I personally have been treated nothing but, respect, and people have been very kind to me, and no one disrespect. It's like I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. I keep waiting for some guy getting in my face, or some woman, losing her mind because I'm in the bathroom, and I haven't gotten that.
Yeah, me either. But you're always waiting for it to happen.
I am hyper vigilant. Like, I'm going to Disney World tomorrow. We're leaving for Disney World tomorrow in Florida, and I know that I'm going to be okay because I'm in the Disney ecosystem. But I'm also going to Florida, and I'm a little bit just like, okay, I told my wife, I was like, well, listen, we have to make sure that when we go to the restroom, I have to go in alone, because I can't have my 12-year-old calling for daddy. Yeah. And then me responding with this unmodulated voice. I haven't done voice training because I'm a lazy turd. and I in theory want to, but in practice it's difficult, and I don't want to. So
yeah, and no one should have to do that if they don't want to. If you're happy with your voice, that's a totally great thing,
Oh, I'm definitely not. I'm self-conscious about it, and I get sirred on the phone all the time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I just let it roll off, because I know that this is how I sound, and that's okay. And especially now, because I just got over COVID, so my voice is a little on the rough side.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I had to tell my wife, it's like, we need to make sure that they don't be calling on my name, because I can't be responding like this in the bathroom for fear of my own safety. And that's just, that's really crappy,
It really is. Yeah, it's hard, like anytime you're going somewhere new, you have to think about what's the bathroom situation there. Mm-hmm. Is it like a single occupancy? Will I be okay? And yeah, I think that's a thing that obviously cis people never have to think about or worry about. And it's like, we can't go anywhere new without having to ask that question, or I'm researching online.
If I'm quiet, I have enough passing privilege to not get questioned. If I'm not in there coughing or talking on the phone or whatever, which I wouldn't do, if I can be quiet, I'll probably be okay. And even then, in certain bathrooms here in California, when I go in, I'll start a conversation with someone at the sinks, like, hey, how you doing? And that's never ever a problem. Never been a problem. But it's just one of those, I hate having to think about that.
Yeah. Before we dive into discussing this week's topic, where can people find you online if they would like more Mae and they have not yet experienced your wonderfulness or your amazing comic?
Well, if you wanna spend the next week of your life reading a semi-mediocre comic, you can get a real
good.
life.
And you've cracked so many eggs. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I know. I mean, I can't take full credit for that. That goes to Kat, because she wrote the tweet. But it's like the vampire rules. She turned me, so I turned everyone. She gets credit.
Yeah.
Anyway, reallifecomics.com, 2 L's, and you can read all 23 years of my comic online if you really truly hate yourself. Some of those old comics, I won't say they don't age well, but like going back and reading comics, like, wow, my Pentium 3 450 computer is really rad. It's like, oh wow, you sweet summer child. And then as far as social media goes, anywhere you search for May God Have Mercy, MAEGOD, have mercy, spelled like that. That's usually going to be me. Thankfully, no one else seems to have appropriated that yet. So
let's hope it remains that way, because your voice is unique and singular, and it should be that way always.
Yeah, if you want to see me, crap poster, I'd say a crap posting, damn PG-13, about Star Trek or Tron or whatever, that's all I do. So
that's okay. A couple of shits are okay. You can say you're shit posting. That's all right.
Oh, okay, that's right. It's PG-13, so we get one F-bomb, right?
Well,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
But if we ever do, I will save it for you. So. Okay, so this week's topic is kind of tough to talk about, and it involves discussing ways we may not be kind to ourselves or others, even if unintentionally. So please listen to the entire episode before getting angry about one part without the full context. This is important, and we need to talk about it. This topic is similar, though distinct, from the previous Trans Tuesday, where I talked about implicit queerphobia. You don't have to read that one first, but it couldn't hurt. And you can find that, as always, at tilliestrans2stays.com. Internalized transphobia is similar to implicit transphobia. The key distinction to me is that implicit biases are toward every marginalized group, but internalized biases are toward marginalized groups that we ourselves are part of. You know, transphobia is the hatred of, fear of, discrimination towards trans people. Internalized or implicit transphobia is that exact same thing, but it's the kind we each have inside of us, and yes, all of us have it, that we may not even be consciously aware of. And we all have these subconscious biases toward every marginalized community because that's how our society works. I'm talking only about internalized transphobia for obvious reasons, but it's there for every group that faces a vector of marginalization. That means that this is related to intersectionality, so see the Trans Tuesday on that if you need more understanding on how we must fight every vector of discrimination at once if we ever hope to defeat it, and every marginalized community needs us to. That was also episode 10 of this podcast. So, because we live in a society run by cisgender, heterosexual white men who established it with themselves at the top of the social hierarchy, simply existing within that system worms their biases into all of us. My favorite way to illustrate this is to ask you to close your eyes and imagine a doctor. Okay, so was that doctor a non-disabled cisgender white man? For the vast number of you, the answer is going to be yes. So why didn't you picture a woman, or a black person, or a trans person, or a disabled person? You didn't consciously choose not to think of those people. Your brain excluded them on its own. Why? Implicit bias. Our society tells us those are the people most likely to be doctors, so that's what we imagine without being consciously aware of it. And our society tells us that because those able-bodied cishet white men are the ones who set it up that way. So internalized biases come into play when you imagine that doctor and excluded your own identity from it. I still struggle with this. When I picture a doctor now, they are often black, or a woman, or even in a wheelchair, but they're almost never trans. And I would never consciously choose to exclude trans people from being doctors. But my brain does it anyway, and while it sucks, noticing that you do it is absolutely vital, because you cannot fix what you don't know is broken. So Mae, I wanted to ask you, have you become aware of any of the implicit biases that you may have found within yourself? And if so, what's it been like trying to get rid of those?
Well, that was a big part of my early transition, was getting over those biases, because as I mentioned earlier, child of the 80s,
yeah,
we grew up in a time frame where the only examples of trans people we had were, prostitutes, or at the very least, straight women, women trying to usually trick men into sex or things along those lines. We didn't have examples of trans people like me. I'm lesbian. That was basically not a thing if you looked at the media of the time.
Yeah.
And then growing up in a time where, one, those are your examples. Literally, if I picture trans person in 90s or early or late 80s, my brain goes to streetwalker, because that's what we were given. And so when I'm a 10, 11, 12-year-old dealing with the fact that I wished I was a girl, I wished that I hadn't been a boy, it came off to me as nothing more than, your brain is a little bit off, don't explore this. Because not only was I dealing with those examples, but I was in a fairly Christian household, and even being gay at all was a no-no. Even though at the time I'm like, God, if I had the choice, I'd be a lesbian. Like, that was I thought about at the time. I thought like, guys, no guy wants to be a guy, right? Come on, that's ridiculous.
The first time I heard the word lesbian, I'm like, yeah, that's me. And then I'm like, but I can't be me. But it's me.
Yeah, it sounds great. I wish I could have that. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So I dealt with these reinforced examples for so long that just getting when I started to come out to myself, it was hard for me to say things like I'm a woman, because I felt like it felt unearned. It felt like I was having to, like I was saying something I didn't deserve. And that really sucked.
Yeah.
I had to get over this mental perception of well, if you present a certain way and you look a certain way, you're not doing it right. Or,
God,
there's so many examples of it that it eats at your brain. It just eats at you for the longest time. I've gotten past it. I'm comfortable with who I am now.
Yeah.
But that first few months
it's hard.
It was tiptoeing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I imagined, I'm like, people are going to dump me left and right, and it's going to be a horrible situation because, again, this is not me saying things because, quote unquote, people don't like trans people. That's what the internalized stuff said. And it really gets in your, it really is it's a brain worm. It's a brain worm.
It's really hard to get out of it. And for the folks listening, please keep listening because we're going to talk more about specific examples and how you can maybe spot some of these things inside yourselves a little later on. So we have to do the work to find these implicit biases and work to root them out because we owe it to our fellow humans. And the best example of my own internalized transphobia that I can give you, one that I've used before, once I was finally publicly out as trans, I hesitated to call myself a lesbian, despite the fact that I'm exclusively attracted to women and non-binary people. I talked a bit about this in the Trans Tuesday on disentangling sexuality from transness, which again, you will find at tillystranstuesdays.com. And again, I don't consciously hate trans people. In fact, I consciously love us. We're amazing and insightful and free in all the best ways. And I did and do push back against anyone who says trans women can't be lesbians. They absolutely can be. Many are. But when applying it to myself, God, I just couldn't do it. And I didn't know why. I felt like I wasn't allowed, or I couldn't, or I shouldn't. But then I realized the only people who shared that view were bigoted TERFs. And if you missed the Trans Tuesday on TERFs or aren't familiar with the term, you may want to check that out as well. Spoiler, they're awful.
They're the stupidest people alive.
Anyway, so that gave me pause. TERFs hate trans people and I don't. So why the hell would my thoughts directed at myself line up with theirs? That's horrible. What I realized is that society tells us lesbians are cis women who are often fetishized and sexualized by cis men, which is something we actually share with every cis lesbian. You can see the Trans Tuesday on the fetishization of trans women to see what we have to deal with on a daily basis just trying to exist as trans women. So, Mae, I specifically wanted to ask you, how has your experience been with chasers? Has it gotten worse or better for you over time?
I will say it gets worse every time I post a picture, but...
Well, yeah. Every time.
I've been so rigorous with blocking that I no longer... I won't say I don't care. It's almost like my brain filters it out. If I see a DM from someone that just says, hey.
Hey or hi. Those are their favorites.
Oh my God, that's all they start with.
Nothing but that.
Hi.
Yep.
Hi. You're gone. You're blocked.
Yeah.
I don't even engage. So I have yet to receive a dick pic. Haven't gotten a single one.
Oh, you're lucky.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
This is not a challenge, people.
No.
I just haven't
do not
one.
Ever do that. No.
No one wants to see that. I'm sorry. No one wants to see that.
If they do, they'll tell you. That's the only time you should ever do it.
Yeah. Although I will say that the best response I've ever seen to that was sending one of your own back. that would do it. I haven't gotten as much of that as other folks, but it makes it hard because most of my DMs for a while were just, hey, hi, you're beautiful, blah blah blah, and I'm like, I don't even engage with that because you don't know me as a person. If you did, you know I'm married and happy and not into dudes.
Yep.
Not even a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah. I got comments from chasers on a picture of the two of us on an anniversary date.
Yeah.
Talking about it being our anniversary and being like, "You're so beautiful. I'd love to marry you." I'm like, the photo said it was. No, they don't read.
We're not people to them.
That's the problem.
We're a picture. We're a concept.
Yeah.
So, I don't take it hard because I know it's not about me. I see people following me on Twitter and they exclusively repost porn content. And now listen, porn's great. I'm not you do you be horny all you want, but you're not gonna get it from me. So why are you following me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're a problem.
Hope springs eternal.
I will post if my cleavage looks great and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is great, I'm posting this, but it doesn't go beyond cleavage.
I yearn for the day when I have cleavage I can post. Like, they're getting a little bigger, but I still don't really have. Okay. Anyway, because I was raised in this society, its unwritten, bigoted, quote-unquote rules get imprinted on me. Not even necessarily on purpose, although some parents sadly do raise their children to hate, but because I just existed within this society. The vast majority of our media, our stories, our culture has these same biases. And so by experiencing all of that for our entire lives, we absorb it without realizing it. And while overcoming that to stand up for the rights of other trans women was easy, when applied to myself, it was so much harder to realize, much less overcome. I am a woman, I am attracted to women, thus I am a lesbian, because trans is just another kind of woman you can be. Disabled women can be lesbians, black women can be lesbians, senior women can be lesbians, any kind of woman can be a lesbian, and trans is just one kind of woman. Therefore, yes, I'm a lesbian, a transbian, if you will. There are actually lots of us. I also had the same issue with calling myself a mom for a long time, because what does society tell you moms are? People who give birth to children, and I didn't do that, and our kid had a mom in Susan, so how could I possibly be a mom? But of course, people can adopt kids and be a mom or use surrogates or egg donors, and I'd never say those women weren't mothers. But when it came to me, it's calling myself a lesbian all over again. There's a whole lot more about being a trans parent coming next week, so please come back and check that out.
Although I'm going to say, like, it's also part of the whole, like, all the things we're taught. Like,
yeah,
even just being a mom and even, like, just being a cis mom, like, all the weird crap that people...
Weird gendered expectation.
Oh, my God. Like, it so, like, you know, the school thing where they would always call me.
Yeah.
Even though you were the main contact and you were the stay-at-home parent.
Yeah.
Or, like, even just, like, pregnancy is magical.
No.
No, it's a horror movie that I started, and I did not enjoy that.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, people touching you or say, you know, when you don't have children, they're like, when are you having children?
Yeah.
When you have one children, when are you having more children? It's like it never ends.
It affects, well, you know, a lot of these things we talk about, and we always say it affects cis people too, just as much, in slightly different ways sometimes.
Yeah.
So for cis people, combating your implicit transphobia means examining where your implicit biases against us lie and working to change them. You must see us as women, men, and non-binary people who are entirely equal to cis folks. You have to start seeing us as doctors, librarians, astronauts, truck drivers, retail clerks, baristas, lawyers, firefighters, writers, actors, webcomic creators, musicians, artists, and everything else under the sun. You have to fight the stereotypes you find yourself leaning toward. But here's a good thought experiment, cis friends. Would you go to a trans rally and march with us? We continually ask, but few of you ever do. Further, would you, in your everyday life, wear a pin or a shirt or carry a bag with the trans pride flag on it to show your support for us? Does that scare you? Does it make you worry that people who saw you might think you were trans and that thought terrifies or repulses or angers you? That's transphobia, friends.
Mm-hmm.
I can buy pins. I'm going to buy some pins.
You can buy all the pins you want as long as you give me some.
And stickers.
We already got some of those. Okay. But for trans people, as it's internalized and about ourselves, it's much more insidious and can be lurking in all kinds of ways. So here's some possibilities I just want you to think about. And if you find some that apply to you, try to figure out why that is. Do you feel that you're different from other trans people, or like you don't belong or aren't part of a community or aren't trans enough? Please see the Trans Tuesday on Trans Day of Visibility, and yes, you are trans enough to help combat that. Also, episode 13 of this show. Are you ashamed to be trans, or does it make you feel like there's something wrong with you, or like you shouldn't be this way and you just want to be quote-unquote normal? Do you resent being trans, or feel like it's some kind of punishment? Do you wish you weren't trans? Are you embarrassed to say you're trans? Would you be embarrassed to be recognized as trans? Do you feel like, outside of safety reasons, that you have to pass in order to be accepted? Do you feel like you have to conform to gender stereotypes if you want to be accepted? Do you feel like you can't or don't want to, quote-unquote, look trans for whatever that means to you? This isn't all the different ways a trans person might have internalized transphobia, but these are some big ones. And look, there are all kinds of different reasons someone may feel that way, and I'm going to be honest, I had to deal with some of those myself. For a long time before I accepted my transness, I would think and sometimes even say things like, if I could look like that cis woman, I'd transition right now. Ha ha, just kidding. Eggs, cis guys don't say that. Okay, good talk. But feeling like you can't transition unless you can appear cis and no one would ever know is 100% internalized transphobia. Society has told you men and women look exactly one way, and we all know cis folks who don't conform to that are punished for it.
And TERFs are the best at punishing people.
They really are.
They're such hypocrites.
And they hurt cis people just as much.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So a trans person who appears to be cis is passing, and a trans person who passes and lives without telling anyone they're trans is stealth. There's a Trans Tuesday that somewhat deals with passing if you'd like more info. So, Mae, you touched on this a little before, but I wanted to ask how the very complicated issue of passing has been for you. Do you want to, I mean, you said that you feel that you do, but is that something you ever wanted? Do you care if you don't? How has that worked for you? Because it was a really complex thing for me.
It's primarily, for me, it was always about just being treated and accepted as a woman, which is what I want. That's all I want. And so when I get the sir, it's a little bit like a slap. Like I'm saying, like it's saying you're not there yet. But I've learned to separate that from my own self-image. Yeah. I know who I am and how I look, and I'm okay with that. And as long as people treat me like that, when people say, ma'am, it makes me feel good because people are treating me like who I am.
Right.
I know that I'm always going to look a little bit different than a cis woman. And you know what? That's fine. I like the way I look. I'm really happy with the way I look.
You're beautiful.
Well, thank you very much.
Just throw that in there.
So are you. Well, so are you. So, you know.
Stop it.
Come now.
This is so cute, you guys.
I know. It's all we do. It's just, sit here and trade compliments. But it's a hard one because initially, before I came out, the notion of passing was paramount. It was like all I cared about because I didn't want to be looked at as weird. And now I bring up the trans thing. I don't even like shy away from it. I'm not like, hey, how you doing? I'm trans. But, I'll mention offhandedly, oh, estrogen's great for that, or just like it's a normal thing everyone goes through.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it works for me in my circumstances, who I am. I know that when I start talking, people are going to go, oh, she's,
right.
She's not cis.
Yeah.
But, at some point you just have to be okay with who you are.
Yeah, I agree.
And not worry about it.
Yeah. And
I would have never thought a second thing about your voice. And I actually knew other trans people for years, and everyone just assumed I knew that they were trans. And I was like, oh.
Well, you just don't make assumptions about people. And
that's very sweet of you. Again, when I'm on the phone, it's always sir.
Yeah.
Always. But if you have, I think it's a combination of visual and audio context clues.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Make your brain kind of put the two together. But if you close your eyes and listen, you're like, that's a dude talking. Especially if I go into like, in a world, and now, in a world where one woman doesn't sound the way she wants to.
Okay, but that's amazing.
Although I don't really think about gendering people by voice. Like, why is everyone so obsessed with gendering people? Like,
because our society was set up that.
Insane. Like, why? There's no reason.
Yeah,
I get really annoyed when. So I think a lot of companies tell their employees to use the sir, ma'am.
Yeah,
they say this is how you should. Yeah, exactly.
It's respectful.
When you could just as easily not say those things and it would come off as great.
Yeah, exactly.
You can tell when an employee is being told to use it over and over again.
Yeah.
You can tell.
It's like second nature. They're not even thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I've mentioned this before.
You could use your majesty,
and that would be acceptable.
Your majesty is great.
I will say though, what you were saying about gendering the voices, it's another example. I won't say it's internalized transphobia, but it's definitely, we've been conditioned our entire lives.
Yep.
And it can be hard for even me sometimes to break out of that.
Yeah.
I don't slip up hard. You think of slipping up. Sometimes your brain just says, you hear a voice and you're like, guy. And you have to fight against those sort of things. It's work. Not everyone wants to do that work, and that's what makes it hard.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. And I've mentioned this before, but I just want to say it again to the folks listening that if you do get misgendered, remember that says more about the person misgendering you than it does about you. It's about their expectations and their beliefs
and also society.
And society and their biases, and not you and how you're presenting. So please do not take it personally, which is advice that it's hard for even me to take. It's really hard sometimes. You're like, what do I have to do? I'm as femme as I can be today. And you're still calling me sir. But
when I walked into a Target once, I was asking for some help, and I'm looking like I do right now. And the guy said, "Sir," and I had stopped him. I'm like, "Really?" Because this, you looked at this and said, "Sir, really? Okay." I was wearing full makeup, the whole 9 yards. Like you had to work to get to that.
Yeah, you know? I got a lady at Costco once who, when I had makeup on and I was wearing like a halter top, and she called me sir, and I said, "I'm not a sir," and she just like was so taken aback that she got it. I don't know if it was that she got it wrong or that I dared to correct her.
Yeah,
but yeah,
people don't like being corrected.
Well, no, that's true.
And with something like that, cis people treat them like you're the one offending them when you correct them.
Right.
It's
how dare you?
Bonkers. It's bonkers.
Yeah. Well, so the bottom line with passing is that it is a very complicated and complex issue, and we should not judge those that do or want to pass, or judge those who don't or don't want to pass. In short and always applicable, less judging, more understanding and compassion. Some people may feel that they can't quote-unquote look trans, for example, for safety reasons, and that is also totally valid because our society is violently anti-trans. But I want you to realize that even though it's valid to feel like you can't look trans in order to be safer, that is still internalized transphobia, because society has told you looking like you're trans makes you a target, and now it's in your head and you believe looking like what you are is bad or dangerous. And if that's not transphobia, what the hell is? For more on internalized transphobia, you can see the Trans Tuesdays on the intentional trans allegory of the Matrix Revolutions, as it's one of the key themes the movie tackles. But for it to make sense, you gotta read the threads on the earlier movies first. BT dubs that those threads got me a book deal, and it'll be in stores on June 27th, 2023. It's called Begin Transmission, the Trans Allegories of the Matrix. You should definitely read it because it's great. You can pre-order it in paperback, hardcover, or EPUB at all bookstores now.
That's so cool.
Thank you for being here, Mae.
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
As my final thought, I want to say that what all of this boils down to is that there is nothing wrong with being trans in any way, which I feel like everyone listening hopefully already knows and accepts on a conscious level. But our society spends a lot of time, money, and effort to make us subconsciously think the opposite. We have to do the work to root out implicit biases because everyone deserves better. And we have to do the work to root out our internalized biases because we deserve better too, and you deserve to love yourself. Tilly Bridges, end transmission. Tilly's Trans Tuesdays is hosted by Tilly Bridges and Susan Bridges, with audio editing and sound mixing by Jillian Morgan. Special thanks to Daisy and Jane for the use of Sorry Not Sorry as our show's theme music. Please stop by and show your support at daisyandjane.bandcamp.com and soundcloud.com/daisyandjane. You can find me at Tilly Bridges on Twitter and Hive, on Mastodon at tillybridges at mastodon.social, at facebook.com/TillySBridges, and on Insta at HeckYeahTillyBridges. And you can find Susan on all of those at Susan L. Bridges. The Google Doc and social media versions of this week's topic and all past topics are available at Tilly'sTransTuesdays.com. For more information, visit pendantaudio.com. Thanks for listening.
And stickers.